10 years old. And so there was a local guy like in my community that I just sort of liked. He was just a nice guy. And I knew that he took summers off to teach girls softball. And I didn't really understand that. That didn't make sense to me. And so I wanted to find out a little more about that. Him and another guy were a business guys that had a men's clothing store at my church. And so I thought, like, I kind of want to know about these guys. I don't know what they do. And so I just decided I guess I decided I wanted to have a clothing store. I wanted to be a dentist. And so that was it. I had no idea what I was getting into. And I don't think I knew what I was getting into. Even when I first practicing, you know.
So tell what so you came up with that goal in the 5th grade?
Maybe.
All right, so did you question it all in high school?
Never.
You didn't question undergrad?
Never.
Okay, you just
not for a minute.
All right. Wow. That's
so
clear vision.
Yeah, it was clear, but it was clear. Yeah, very clear. And never doubted what I wanted to
do. Okay. What was your experience in applying for dental school?
Okay, and so I'll tell you the short story. So there was I think there was a dean of medicine and dean of dentistry at Auburn University, and I remember going into his office, and the weirdest things happened. And he said, "Do you know how to tie a fly?" And I thought to myself, if I don't answer yes, I'm out, right? So I fudged, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I know how to. And now today I know how to tie a fly because it's fly fishing, and I've fly fished for years.
Sure.
But at the time, I didn't know how to tie a fly. And what he was saying was, do you think you have manual dexterity? Can you use your fingers in small places to do things that matter? And that's what he was asking, but I didn't get it. And I mean, I should have been more honest with him. But so the process for applying was that he said I've had a very average GPA. I did okay on the DAT. I had very average GPA, and at the time, he said you need to apply to schools that, and I don't know how he knew this, but you need to apply to schools that are more receptive of you. I've got a friend now because I went to Tufts University in Boston, which I absolutely loved, as my wife did as well. And so what he recommended was that I apply to Marquette, Loyola, Northwestern, Tufts, and I think there was one more school. So there's about 4 or 5 schools, and I happened to have just gotten in one school. So I got into Tufts, and at the time in in those years, in the last century, Tufts was a fabulous school, and I think it still is a good school. Of course, the city of Boston was great because there are 3 dental schools there. There are, I think, 57 universities and 3 dental schools. The atmosphere there is just fantastic. So it was a really good experience for me to go to Tufts, and I loved it. I love going back.
Mm-hmm. What path as a dentist would you recommend and why? So, like, specialties, starting off, like building a practice, or joining someone else's, buying someone else's, becoming an associate at a more corporate office.
I think everybody's experience is a little bit different, and I wouldn't want to kind of impose my thoughts on someone else as far as like what they should do. But I'll tell you what my experience was. So I met my wife, my future wife, my first year of dental school. We got married, I think, a couple of years later while I was in dental school, and so we were married for 2 or 3 years while in dental school. And then when we got out of dental school, we had a lot of debt. We had we had HEAL loans, we had different loans, but there were, like you would see today, or like you might expect, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and at that time, last century, and that was in 90. We graduated in 94, and so and my thoughts, what I finished pretty early. I finished really early in my clinic, so I wasn't the best in academics at Tufts, but I finished early clinically, so I had time to study implants, oral surgery, um, and to some of the things that some of the other students they were still working on their basic, like for Crown and Bridge and for restorative dentistry and things like that in the clinic. So there was pressure. There was no pressure on me really to. Well, I would say it like this: we wanted to get started with a business, and so we thought about residencies. There were other people doing residencies, and I think if you're not ready to do private practice, or it just seems a little uncertain, I think residencies are okay. I don't know. I think you might learn. I didn't do a residency, so I can't really speak for it. I think you might learn some things during a residency, but I was pretty well prepared, I think, to go out to just do regular restorative dentistry. And I think there's a large trend today for people to go out and do corporate dentistry, like with Dent First or Aspen Dental, or to be an associate. I think it's trending that way. I don't know why, but more students don't want to do private practice, or either don't have the available funds or financing to purchase a private practice. So we did that. We did the private practice route, and we bought this, really small. We had 3 practices. We had one in Atlanta, one just outside of Atlanta, and then one sort of in the suburbs of Atlanta, where we are now. And the one in the suburbs of Atlanta seemed to be the less competitive one, and worked out best for us. We grew that, from a really, really small place, which is almost embarrassing to me now, in this little shopping center, what we had, to where we are now. But I mean, I think that's how it works. And I think each person has their own, it's different for each person. I mean, some people don't want to own, they would be fine to be an associate, or they'd be fine to work for a corporate office, to have a guaranteed income and to leave it all behind. So I think it works different for different people, and it's trending a little bit away from private practice today, I think. But I think for me, private practice was no doubt the most rewarding thing. It certainly is today. I mean, I'd rather not be working for someone. There are limitations to that versus doing it on your own. Some people want that, and some people don't.
Okay. What would you say is the top attribute or key to being a great dentist? And this is this takes into account dentistry, but also being a dentist in general, the office, the business, everything. What would you say, sort of?
Yeah, I think that I think the main thing is to have a balance in your home life and then in your professional life. That it's not too taxing. One thing that dentists are lucky to do or to afford is to be their own boss, unless you're working for somebody. You can work your own hours. You can so that you don't necessarily get burned out. I mean, my thoughts are, if I were working, we work Monday through Wednesday basically, and occasionally work a half a day on Thursdays. If I were working 5 days at the pace we work, today, which was fast, and I would get burned out. I mean, because if you think about, like, 50 people come in a day and saying, "Hey, I have a problem," and you're just taking care of people's problems, problem after problem after problem after problem. I think that's a way to get burned out. So what we try to do to enjoy being, and by the way, my office, have staff that have been there for like 20 something years. So, and we're friends. One of the most important things about an office is to have friends in the office and people that you care about, people that you love. If it's a place where you just go to work and leave, I think that's that's not optimal. And so I think to be the best you can, I think that I think it's don't be afraid of different um, different types of procedures in dentistry. I think there's a lot of people that, like, if you're not taught when you go to dental school, if you're not taught how to do molar root canals or how to do oral surgery or how to do implants or periodontal surgery or lasers or something like that, that stuff is easy. Don't don't limit yourself as to what you do. I mean, you don't have to refer out that stuff. It's really not that difficult. And it make sure that, like, you're engaging the patients on a personal level. I tell my assistants that or staff that we are there. I mean, I want to know about the person. I want to know about your hobbies. I want to know about your children. I want to know, like, where you work and where you lived. I want to know about the things you've done. I don't want to know about your teeth. I honestly, I don't really care about teeth that much. I know that you may just remember that tonight only. I mean, do you care about teeth? I mean, or do you care about the nose or the ears? I mean, or feet? I probably not, right? So, I mean, teeth are just what we do. It's not who we are. And so, when I go in to see a patient, I just want to play and have fun and engage and, like, and really just have fun. It's not fake. I don't want to just build confidence like a car salesman and, like, find out what you do and then sell you a car. I don't want to sell you anything. I want to undersell you something. I want to not sell you something, and then maybe you'll come back if you trust me. If somebody else tried to sell you something, that's another thing about corporate dentistry that I would really recommend. If you don't remember much else about this, be careful with corporate dentistry. It's endemic. It's endemic in all of corporate offices that there is a quota. Every patient that comes in a corporate office truly has a number on their head. It might be $7,000 or something like that. And you'll have a morning huddle where you're responsible for meeting that quota during the day. And you'll be questioned at the end of the day why you did or did not meet that quota. And that's one of the luxuries I have in private practice is I actually do the opposite. I try to undersell and, like, not sell and talk people out of treatment and just talk to them about what they want. If you want 10 veneers or, a large case, I'll be happy to do it. But I want to make sure you want it. I make sure that it's not something that I want. It's something that you want. So just remember just to treat everybody just with respect and not as a commodity. Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Perfect. That's a very large key. Also, if you have any questions, try to. I didn't want to throw this on you at the end and just be like, you didn't have time to think about it. If you have questions, they pop in your head, write them down. I'll open it up to anyone, or I mean, you can raise your hand too. If you raise your hand, I can see that. I just ask some question on the spot, but at the end for sure, it'll be for questions. If there's no questions, we'll just call it there. Yeah, if you have questions, write them down just so you think of them, and we'll have that question section at the end. So, how does your day to day compare now to when you first started? Oh, we have okay. How hard was it to get married during dental school? From Veronica.
That's great, Veronica. Hey, Veronica. Oh, it's super easy. It's super easy to get married. The part that was the part that I would that I think would be hard during dental school to do is to have a baby. Okay, getting married is easy. Having a baby, I don't know. Don't do. Maybe I don't know. Do what you want. There were a few people I knew that had children, but maybe don't do that. I don't know. I can't imagine having children during dental school. It's kind of like dental school to me was kind of like it was roughly 10 hours a day. Maybe you didn't do 10 hours on a Friday, but you're doing 10 hours a day regularly. But it's where you wanted to be. I mean, you're preparing for your life. You're preparing for everything you're doing, and it's so rewarding to be there because when you're in dental school, you know that there's an end, and you know at the end you're going to get a license to practice in a state. You'll get a little card about this big with a number on it. Mine's like 12296 or something like that, and it's a license to practice, and that's a pretty cool thing. The day that you get accepted, and you guys will all get accepted. The day you get accepted, you will get that card. I mean, if you're where you are now and you get accepted, you'll make it to the end. But to your point about getting married during dental school, I think I've said this to my kids is that the smartest people that you saw in undergrad, like, wow, this guy's really got his crap together. He's really smart. When you go to dental school, every single person is going to be that guy or girl, and it's gonna be I think for me, I think it could be impressive to you. When I went to Boston, this was like an academian wonderland. Everybody I think there was 350,000 students in Boston, and so it's like I went from Auburn where there's like a few hundred smart people to like this plethora of smart people. And the people that had, like, our friends there were like 70% of the students at Tufts were international students. They already had doctorate degrees from other countries. They were getting doctorate. They spoke 2, 3, 4, and 5 languages, and they were being on the loudspeaker every day during clinic. And I was just this little guy from Auburn University, and it was fantastic. But back to your question about getting married, it's easy to do. It was comforting for me. It was reassuring to me, and it was liberating. It was so many good things, because I think that you're gonna if someone's looking for love, you may find that person at dental school, because there are people there that are like-minded. And you're with, say, 125 people for 4 years, and you're just sitting there. You really get to know them. It's a small fraternity of people, and it's wonderful. There's likelihood, if you're looking for it, you'll find it.
Well, there you go. So, another question.
I see that for Rachel. Rachel, for your question about dental school out of state, is it your license for home state after you graduate? So there's so in New England, it was out of state. They have a licensure board it's called the NERBs, or the Northeast Regional Boards. And so you can take the NERBs if you like, if you want to practice in those, let's say 5 or 6 states. But that's you're limited to those 5 or 6 states. If you want to take, for instance, like in Georgia has it. I think Georgia is the SERBs, or it's the Southeast Regional Board. So that's, if you take boards, which I did and my wife Beth did, that's good for maybe 4 or 5 states. It's not good for Florida. It exempts Florida. It exempts Alabama. Not that I'd want to go there and practice. But it exempts those 2 states. Those have their own boards, I think, or they're separate. I think Florida's separate because they just don't want, like, every dentist in the country, like snowbirds, coming down to Florida, because there would be a surplus of dentists in Florida if that were to happen. So that's kind of how that works. So we did not take the NERBs up in North and Northeast, because we researched what states we'd like to go to or move back to. Atlanta happened to have what we wanted, and that's why we took the SERBs, which included Georgia. So now we can practice in about maybe 3 or 4 states or something like that. But because we have a private practice here, we almost can't ever move, or shouldn't ever move, to another state unless there was some other reason. We've actually looked into in the British Virgin Islands practicing, and that was pretty easy. But that's another story.
And then Veronica asks again.
No, Veronica, it's not. I think it's just as easy to get married anytime during dental school. I don't think it matters whether you're.
Your wedding was not traditional.
Oh, okay. So we had family in Alabama, we had family in Virginia, and so what my wife and I did, and some people might scoff at, we put got tickets. We couldn't get everybody together. Virginia, Boston, Alabama, all this stuff. So we just screw all that, and we went to Jamaica. So we got married by an American minister in Jamaica at the resort Sandals, which you may see on television from time to time. And we had a wonderful time. It was amazing. We had a steel band, and we had rum cake. And one of my best friends from Auburn had got married the week before. He was down there at Ocho Rios, and we were in the grill, and it was fantastic. So, if you'd have to do something like that, I don't know, but it was wonderful. A big wedding. I have no idea because we didn't have that, but it was wonderful, and it did not interrupt or interfere. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think I used to take. I would maybe not take notes and just copy the notes off my wife. So so it's actually easier to be married maybe than not. I don't know.
Keys to success right here. Okay. All right. Yeah.
You're welcome, Veronica.
How does your day-to-day today compare to, oh, hello, Elvin. Do you have a question?
Go ahead.
How does your day-to-day compare to day-to-day today compare to your day-to-day when you first started?
I think it's just I don't know that it's smoother. And we're busier. I mean, because I've been in business for 26 years. We are, we're established in the community. All of the dentists, that's another thing is about, because I had a practice in Atlanta. I had two practices in Atlanta, and I'm fine with the city. I went to school in Boston. I love the city. We love cities in general, and but I would say it's really easy in a suburb of Atlanta, the metro area, because I think there's not as much competition. I think once you establish yourself in the community and you and your wife, you and your significant have been involved in other like charitable organizations and foundations and boards and whatever organizations you might belong to in the community starts to accept you, and it makes it just a lot easier. So in the beginning, you're trying to find your footing and like where you are and who might believe in you or subscribe to you or trust you. And I think after 5 years it changes, and 10 years, but I think it if you have confidence and you're really nice to people, even when you've only been out for a year or two, I think there's advantages to that, because people think, oh, you're current, you have the latest technology, you just got out of school, and if you convey that, I don't think you're any. I think you're the equivalent of someone that's been practicing for a couple of decades in a way, because you're just building trust with people.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like I just go to the office and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just go I have fun because my assistants in the front office, we love each other. We all get along great, and we just have fun, and it's easy now. It's really easy. I really look forward to going to work on Sundays when I go to work on Monday mornings at 7 a.m. And I just have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. It was fun then, but I think maybe it's more fun now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still having fun, and when I stop having fun, I'm done.
Well, there you go. All right. Oh, there you
go. No. Hey, Veronica. recommend do it now before. No, I'll say it like this: when you get into dental school, you're not going to have a problem with dental school. Preparing for prepare for the hard sciences, labs and such. You'll do just fine. I think now the requirements to get into dental school are harder than dental school. I don't think you'll have a problem at all. As a matter of fact, I think you'll find it easier in dental school than preparing for dental school. I don't think you'll have a problem at all. And I'm not saying some of the classes aren't hard, but okay, the pressure that you could put on yourself for dental school is getting into a doctoral program. If you want to go into periodontics or endodontics or orthodontics or go into geriatrics, or you want to go any of these specialties, then you'll need to put pressure on yourself again to get into those things, to perform top of your class in those classes. But I didn't really feel that, so I can't really speak about performing at the level you guys have to perform at to get into dental school is not necessary in dental school. I'm not saying that you don't want to perform well, but you don't have to perform at that same level unless you're wanting to specialize and go into oral surgery or some other you want to be and then I still don't know that you even have to be that level.
Okay. So Edith Million, after you graduate your first became a dentist, how long before you get your first office and how long does it manage? You want to finance the supplies? You have to take additional classes to run your own practice.
That was good. So when I was in Boston, my wife and I worked at the library for a little while at the Boston Public Library, and I would research like how to run an office, or I would read books about business or how to do that. And I think it was hard to manage it. I think you just learn things every day. I don't think you really have to. You just have to dive in. I think that's how you swim. You have to just get in the water. And so, but if you don't get in the water, you just won't learn to swim. So you just have to get in. And no, there were as far as and how were you able to finance? Well, finance. Okay, so it was crazy. Okay, you'll all find your individual things, and these people that are wanting to sell offices are just they're so random. So the first office I got into in Atlanta, it was in Vinings. This guy was a wealthy, prominent guy with a real boutique kind of practice, like 2 operatories or something like that. He walked me down to the bank. And I'll tell you guys, I don't care. This is not private. He walked me down to the bank, down at the bottom of the hill, and said, and he was part of the Cox family. They did railroad or something like that in Atlanta. And he walked me down to the bank. And he said, and he actually had a problem. The gentleman I bought my practice from had I would just say he had a problem. He needed to sell his office. And so he walked me down to the bank and he said, write this boy a check for $125,000 to buy this office. And they did. They didn't even know who I was. So he asked me, what about financing? That's how that happened. A year later, I sold the office for the same price I paid for it. I didn't really make anything off of it, but I had an income. I had an income from it for 1 year, which allowed me to buy the second practice, which was kind of in the same ballpark. And that practice, which was a metropolitan practice, went from just nothing and just went like this. The rise of production, and it was just fantastic. It was wonderful. So that's kind of how I did that. I did not have to. And then, but once you have established your maybe a relationship with a banker, your credit limit, this kind of stuff, I think you can kind of come in and say and do what you want. Generally speaking, I think banks trust dentists. You may need a couple years of salary under your belt before you go into a bank and say, hey, I have a license. Remember that license I told you was important? That license is very important, but you need to have a little bit of a history with a year or two of salary before you go in and say, hey, listen, I need, a few $100,000 to buy this practice or whatever, which I think is a good thing to do. Um, the dental supplies and office materials, that's office supplies should run you about 2.2% of your gross. Dental supplies should run you roughly between 2 and 3% of your gross, which is not significant. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It's basically, do you lease your building? Which you can do, lease a space and then put some, I find like this year I found I like Pelton and Crane LED lights. They're gorgeous lights. They're beautiful. I installed them myself. I knew they're about $5,000. I bought one for $2,200. Nathan helped me put it in a week or two ago, and it's wonderful. My hygienist loves it. Our office is fairly modern, and I like to keep things like that. So, but I wouldn't worry about supplies or office materials or anything like that. Additional classes, no. They're read. I mean, there's things that to know. But I mean, a great resource sometimes. I mean, you can read a book. I mean, read a 100-page book. That's fine. Or go on to Dental Town. Dental Town is a wonderful resource. It is the unequivocal resource for dentists to find out, is this practice worth purchasing? And I think there's a student Dental Town, I think, and there's one for hygiene as well. But you can go on there and find out anything you want to know about buying a practice. If you log in and say, hey, I'm a dental student, and you put your question out on Dental Town, you will get 100 replies all over the nation from people that have been in business for 20 or 30 years about what you should or shouldn't do for buying a practice. It's really good. Shadowing hours during the pandemic. Yes, I do offer shadowing. I've had one person shadow me for nearly 300 hours, and another person shadow me for maybe 150 or 200 hours. And I'm open for shadowing anytime. Anybody wants to come up and shadow, you're welcome to. I don't have advice for one of my sons, Matthew, has found an office in Atlanta that is signed up for shadowing.
It's like a dental clinic sort of thing, where it's a bunch of people in and out, sort of. It's not really as much a one practice.
Yeah, I'm a little bit negative on just random shadowing, random places, because I think that there are a lot of dentists that don't really, they're not really engaging. You may just kind of stand in the hallway. It's sort of, Caroline, you feel like you may be kind of wasting your time.
Caroline, my sister, she's part of the club, president last year. She's shadowed a couple dentist office, only for like 15 hours, where the dentist would make her stand at the edge of the door and just like sort of peer in from in the hallway. So there's a huge variety as to how involved you'll be in the shadowing, process.
One of the girls this year that got into the University of Georgia, and she got in on her own merit, plus my letter.
Okay,
whatever. Okay. She shadowed me for 300 hours, and she sat at my desk. She literally sat at my desk every minute I was at my desk. And so it was very, I engaged her every hour she was at the office. She was with us the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And as far as, I would say for finding shadow hours during the pandemic, really just calling up an office and asking if they're allowing a shadow. If you just find a dentist locally is easier because you don't have to drive as far. And then you just say, hey, do you have a position or opportunity available for shadowing? And then you might lay out your schedule or something like that, or just wait for more information from them, research the hours they work, and then say like, I'm available on like Wednesdays from 8 to 12 or something like that. And so for the email,
CartersvilleDentist.com.
the email, I'm going to type in the email for the office right now. That's just website. Okay. Oh, well, just yeah, go to the website and
everything's on there as far as an email. If you need, type in my phone number. All right, this is my cell phone number. If you need anything, I mean, you can go to an email. I don't know that you should go to an email, but go to my cell. If you have anything, if you want to text me for anything, if you have any question about anything, text me on my cell number, and I'll respond to you. You can go look at our website and kind of see kind of what's going on there. That should be good.
The office is located in Cartersville, Georgia. It's a little north of Marietta. Well, no, a little north of Ackworth, right above Alatoona Lake on I-75. So
we're probably 25 minutes north of Kennesaw.
Yeah. I commute to Kennesaw every other day, so 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Anything else?
Yeah. What's I guess I just have 2 more questions, but if you guys have more questions, just throw them in and we'll get to them. What is your biggest, as a dentist, what's your biggest challenge right now? Like, what is your biggest, like, your hardest thing to overcome as a dentist right now? As far as a day-to-day or just,
I think there are no hard challenges anymore. Everything's tweaking. It's like fine tuning things. The course adjustment's already been done, so I'm just fine tuning everything. And it's just, it's just that's just it. There's nothing coarse anymore. Day to day is pretty easy because everybody has a position and they all know what to do, and because they all do what they're doing, it makes everything I do easy. So I don't really have many challenges.
Perfect. Okay. And so I think it's something important to note. When you first started working, you were working 5 days a week?
Probably.
5 days a week. And you went to a business seminar and they said that, can you do everything you do in 5 days in 4? And he tried that. So then he started just working 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And he tried that again. So instead of doing Monday through Thursday, now he does Monday through every other half Thursday. So, it's one of those tweaking measures that would be good to look into.
How prepared were you? I was okay. I was okay prepared. I remember one of the first things I did. I tried to extract a tooth from my brother, and he had and I got in there and I was tugging and doing this and it didn't work, and I felt so bad. And he went back home to to an oral surgeon, and he told me that the guy took his tooth out like in 5 minutes, and that really like kind of lit my fire. And so I studied just a little bit, and now I don't send anyone to an oral surgeon ever. I do my own implants, my own wisdom, all my molar root canals or whatever it is. I don't send out anyone for anything. And so I think that kind of it made me want to learn a little bit more about oral surgery. I think you'll find probably in dental school that when you have a class in orthodontics, they won't really teach you that much. When you have a class in oral surgery, they won't really teach you that much. When you have a class in implants, they won't teach you that much, or periodontal surgery, they won't teach you that much. And I think there's a little bit of a turf war, like the oral surgeons and the periodontist and the orthodontist, they want to do their own work. They don't want you doing their work. They want you referring your patients to them. Well, my thoughts were, well, I tried like Invisalign and stuff like that. Well, I didn't really want to do orthodontics, and I don't do orthodontics. That was just too much for me. I've got a really good orthodontist here in town that works well with me. But I want to do my own oral surgery, my own implants, and my own everything. So I've been doing those, and they're really really easy. Don't make things complicated. Those things are not complicated. Do the bread and butter stuff. You want to get into really complicated stuff. There's really complicated stuff out there, and you can get just overwhelmed with all of the, like drawing blood from people, and and doing, and plasma, and like, reintroducing this and that, and it's just, you can do that if you like, but I try to do the things that are simple and fun and easy, and that's what I do. So, um, how prepared did you feel graduating from Tufts? Uh, uh, I, I, I mean, I think you're a little bit nervous, but you've seen enough patients in dental school to not be nervous. I mean, if you're just doing basic stuff, and you'll see something new every single day. And today I saw new stuff 2 or 3 times today, and I let people know. I mean, this is new. I've never seen this before, and so, but it's okay. That's why it's called. I think someone said it's called practicing dentistry. You're not you don't know everything coming out of dental school because you haven't seen everything, and that's okay.
Sweet. And so I mean that concludes my questions. Any questions? Anyone from the chat anymore? And well, I guess while that, do you have any closing words, final words?
No, all the best, you guys. I'm super excited that you guys are doing what you're doing, and like, and just press on. If you really want it, you'll get it. If you really want it, you'll get there. Just stay focused on it. Stay focused. I got into one school. I applied to 5. I got into 1. I was lucky. I was just really lucky. Just keep pushing to get into a school. You get in, you're good. It doesn't really matter what school it is. If you get in, you're good.
Oh, okay. Well, things block it. How hard is it to get a dental assistant job with no certificate?
Veronica, I do not recommend. I do not necessarily. I'm not a big fan of certificates with dental assisting. I think one of the best avenues for dental assisting is for, and we have dental assistants come want to shadow, and hygienists and such, is to offer an office. I'll work for your office for free, and very few people will turn that down. And so basically what you're doing, you're going in there and they'll say, okay, they'll start teaching you, and you start learning some things. Now, if you wanted to have advanced certificates for, I don't know, for different procedures, that's okay. And then you can get that. But I think today the market for, I know that if someone pays $7,000 to go to dental assisting school and they come into my office, I basically, my thoughts are, you don't know anything. You don't even know how to navigate, where to go. You don't know anything about how to work in a dental office. You might know how to pour up a stone model, how to count the teeth. You might know what a hemostat is or something like that. But I think to some degree, I think money's much better spent by being an apprentice in an office, not paying a school for a certificate. The dentists are starting to become picky about where students are graduating from.
Like, are picking about the students graduating from dental assistants school?
No, just from actual dental school. I've heard that dentists are looking at how many clinical hours the graduate school is like providing for their students. Is that a big factor for you to look at through applicants that come to work for you after dental school?
Okay. So here's the deal. Here's the deal for me. And I just I'll preface that question with this. I work pretty fast, and I've never, and I've seen, I think close to 20,000 people in my community in the years of practice. I've said, Nathan had mentioned too earlier that we're going back from 5 days to 4 days to 3.5 or something like that. I've never had too many patients, and we get a night. I don't really advertise. We are signed up with no plans. We have, and that's another thing that we didn't talk about is PPO plans or DMO plans. I have zero contracts with insurance companies, so we kind of undersell our stuff. We don't push treatment. We don't sign any contracts. We don't have reduced fee plans, as I call them, through patients. So my wife and I are able to see everybody we see. I don't. If you sign up for those plans, a PPO, a DMO, or if you sign up for these plans, if a dentist office does, and that's an important thing to ask, like what percent of your practice are contracted plans? Because basically what they do, if you have, I remember I was at an office one time in Atlanta, and I did a filling. I did a 2-surface filling for a guy, and I went to the front desk and I said, "What is this plan? What do they cover?" And the lady told me at the front desk, it was one of the offices I bought. She said that they're going to pay you $12. And I thought, oh my gosh, I went to Tufts and incurred this amount of debt. And I did this filling for this guy, and it took me, 20 minutes or whatever it was. And I'm getting $12. That was just wrong. It was wrong in so many ways. So, but if an office has plans like that, and I'm not saying that it's a bad office or a bad dentist if there are plans in that office. I'm just saying that the reason that the office has plans is because they don't have enough regular patients to fill their schedule. And so, like, if you had 50% occupancy, let's say that half the time you're in your office, no matter how many hours you're there, if half in your office you have nothing to do, and you're thinking like, okay, if I sign this plan with Delta Dental, I'll be able to fill half of that time slot and be able to make an additional amount of money. Okay, that's fine. But then you're under contract with them. So now you're doing, instead of doing a filling for, I don't know, you're doing a filling now for $88. And your hygienist, instead of doing a hygiene for, for $100 for a cleaning, they're doing it for 62. And then it creates a lot of issues for the front desk. Now, if you see an office that's doing that, and there's a whole lot more to it that I won't get into now, but if you're joining an office that's doing that, there's offices need more help because they have more patients coming in. They've got a really full schedule. And you may hear about an office that's booked out for 2 or 3 months, 4 months. You're like, wow, they must be really good because they're booked out for 2 or 3 or 4 months. When in actuality, they've signed in so many contracts and plans with insurance carriers that are sending them what I call reduced fee patients, that you're working harder for less. And I think with the amount of work that you put in, to some degree, don't get me wrong about doing things for charity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm all for doing things for charity, doing things for organizations for free. My wife and I have been involved in stuff like that for years and years. What I'm talking about is insurance companies dictating what you get paid and reducing your fee, kind of like if it were Medicare or something like that. That's a whole nother story. So my thoughts are, as far as like being is hiring a new dentist. I've never wanted a new dentist to come into my office. I don't have a space for a new dentist. I don't. We do work fast enough in those 3 days. I service everybody. Nobody waits more than a week in my office for anything. So there's not a reason for me to hire anybody. And I've got, potentially I've got a couple of kids coming in the next few years, which are just going to take over. It's not because of the volume. We don't need more volume in our office. And I think if you treat people right and they see that in the community, I don't think that you need to, or not you or anyone would need to sign up for these plans or join a practice that necessarily has these plans. And again, any office that has these plans, or that doesn't mean they're a bad office. And you'll see through the Student Dental Association or the American Dental Association, they actually, which I'm not a member of, they actually promote these plans. They promote the sort of the socialization of a private practice, and it's just something to look for.
And also something to consider is that when you go through the interviewing process, you want to say yes to everything. You want to say you'll take Medicare, Medicaid, you'll sign up for all things, and then of course you'll do the charity. But they want to see that you're going to help out with, it's just basically lowering the fees for people. That's all dental schools want to see that. None of them will want to hear you say what he just said. They'll all want to hear you say you'll do everything. So just keep that in mind.
There's truth to what he's saying. There's truth to what he's saying. So I would say, there's a picky about where students are graduating from. I would say no, that they don't. That I would say that, and I've seen this recently on Dental Town. Dentists don't care at all where you went to school for being an employee. They just care about the person, like, they just care about the person, like who you are,
logistics,
what your family structure's like. Are you stable? Are you reasonable? Those kind of things. You're welcome, Rachel.
Alrighty. I think that'll conclude our meeting. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you so much for the questions, to keep them talking. Thank you, Terry, for
it's Dr. Slocum.
Dr. Slocum for coming and doing this meeting. And I recorded this meeting. I also throw it in the group chat if you want to rewatch it. And or I don't know, other people who didn't watch it, but I need to tell you that. So I guess this concludes the meeting. I'll end the recording. And
send me a text if you have any questions. Yeah. You're welcome to text me, email me. You can shadow with the office. That's fine. If you have any interest. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Adios.
Bye-bye.